Apparently they've been lying and shit about what's actually been happening.
Let's get right to Brooke Sigmund with the very latest on the Los Angeles riots and what took place overnight. Hi, Brooke.
Hey guys, that's right. So some of the 700 Marines in Los Angeles are expected to be deployed today to protect ICE agents, with thousands of National Guard troops waiting in the wings. So the LAPD says dozens of protesters were arrested for refusing to follow the curfew put in place by Mayor Karen Bass, who says it will likely last for several days. And California Governor Gavin Newsom is now vowing consequences for violent protesters while still managing to throw digs at President Trump for even sending in the troops.
People will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. He again chose escalation. He chose more force. He chose theatrics over public safety.
That's what I wanted them to do. Yeah, I wanted to show a force. That way they couldn't fuck around. I feel like that's what a lot of people wanted.
Honor their service. We honor their bravery. But we do not want our streets militarized by our own armed forces.
Then you should have done it. You should have taken control of it ahead of time. You would have if you didn't want any problems, you shouldn't have let there become a problem. Like you let this problem happen, and now you're mad that people are saying, "Wow, this problem's happening." Like.
Newsom claims President Trump never called him when the protests broke out, but the president is bringing in the receipts, providing a screenshot to Fox News of a 16-minute phone call between him and Newsom on Saturday. And President Trump is not backing down.
So he just lying? Like why would you even lie about that? Like, I mean, everybody has caller ID. Like, did you think really? Did you think Trump is so petty, he's coming up with nicknames for everybody, including you, and you didn't think he would post your call logs? Are you dumb?
Down on his efforts to stop these violent riots, he issued a stark message to any protesters who burn an American flag. Listen.
These are animals, but they proudly carry the flags of other countries, but they don't carry the American flag. They only burn it. People that burn the American flag should go to jail for 1 year. That's what they should be doing. 1 year. And we'll see if we can get that done.
I'd be fine if he did that, if it meant burning it in public, right? I mean, because that's arson. I mean, you burn it in your own house. Obviously, that's like freedom of speech. But like, I mean, if you're doing it out in public, I mean, yeah, sure. I mean, it's nothing special, right, to the American flag. I mean, if you burn a Mexican flag, I would say the same thing.
Major cities like Seattle and Chicago are also facing similar anti-ICE protests.
It's a slippery slope. No, I don't think you should burn anything out in the middle of the street. And I think if you do, you should go to prison. Like, especially if you're doing it intentionally to cause like trouble and chaos. How about don't burn anything in the street? Like, can you imagine
in New York
that?
City, police arrested more than 80 protesters. And with reports that these protests could continue to spread, Texas Governor Greg Abbott isn't taking any chances. He's deploying National Guard.
Burning a flag is against the law, but burning a car is freedom of speech.
San Antonio. Guys.
All right, Brooke Sigmund live for us in Washington.
That's
Brooke,
the way
thank
it
you.
works.
Let's bring in California gubernatorial candidate and Riverside County Sheriff Chad Bianco. Sheriff, good morning to you. As a member of law enforcement and someone who's running for governor, you could talk about this from just about every angle.
Wow.
But first, from the law enforcement perspective, do you think, and do members of law enforcement that are battling these riots on the ground, police officers, the LAPD, do they think that the presence of the National Guard and the Marines is helpful in this situation?
Yeah, it's definitely helpful because what it does is it enables them to protect buildings and property while we can address the issues that are going on with the rioters.
Isn't that common fucking sense? I mean, that's the most obvious fucking thing. Like, yeah, obviously, if you can have these guys locked down the main building, then we can go do other stuff. Like, you really, like, fucking duh.
We are split when we are spread too thin, when we have to protect buildings that may not be under attack by a protester or something like that, then we really don't have all of our resources to be able to be directed toward the ones that are actually committing the violence. So with that being done, we can direct all of our attention to criminals.
Now, there's a lot of noise surrounding this story. I think it's a pretty simple story.
Yeah, no, I think so too. Now, you got people commenting and saying shit like this, right? Have you stopped watching content critical of Trump, etc. now? Have you stopped beating your wife? Did you drop your gay card? Have you told your parents that you're gay yet? Just stop it. Stop this shit. Like, what are you talking about? You trying to play these games on me? You really trying to play what do you think you really?
Fact remains that this thing was spiraling into chaos before Trump sent in the National Guard, and now it has stabilized. Is there any other way of viewing this, Sheriff?
No, there isn't. We've been lied to from the very beginning. The politicians, California politicians, the mayor of Los Angeles, our governor, have completely failed in that nothing was happening in the beginning. It was allowed to spiral out of control, and then they have created this narrative that completely defies facts and a timeline that we know happened. And this is, they keep calling it a peaceful protest, mostly peaceful, whatever they want to call it. But the reality is that law enforcement officers are being attacked, property is being destroyed.
It's just crazy how they can go and say that shit whenever there's literally like, I love how whenever they say like everything's fine and there's like a video of like people like bursting into a store and like busting out all the windows with a hammer. And they're like, yeah, guys, things are great.
And it is out of control violence that really they're trying to deny for political gain.
Yeah, and Sheriff, I asked that first question on if it's helpful.
Everybody goes and they go say like, it's not about Trump, right? Like it's got nothing to do with Trump. If J.D. Vance was doing this, I would be supporting it. If Biden was doing this, I would be supporting it. If Obama was doing this again, I would be supporting it. It's got nothing to do with who the person is that's doing it. This is an action, not an individual. So, like, for example, like I just said with that flag shit, like, for example, like I thought, like, of course you shouldn't go to jail for burning the flag. That's retarded. But, like, if you're setting it on fire in public, that's arson. Like, if you can't understand the difference between those two things and you're trying to put these two things together to make this narrative in your head because you are upset because you're hearing things that you're disagreeing with, then, I mean, that's really on you at a certain point. Right? That really, that's on you. And like, I talk, it's about an issue. It's about an idea. It's about an action, right? It's not about who's doing the action. Like the person who's doing it doesn't make it good or bad. It's the action itself and the goal behind it.
Have the National Guard and the Marines on the ground because Gavin Newsom has gone to the courts and tried to get them to no longer be able to be deployed. How do you feel about that if you say that their presence of them is helpful?
Yeah.
It's nothing but childish games. Our governor would rather fight and argue with the president than do something about Los Angeles. And the reality is the National Guard, they could have been deployed immediately because time and time again, we see that these spiral for 1, 2, 3 days in a row. And then you're behind the 8 ball trying to catch up. When you do it in the beginning with an overwhelming show of force, these criminals that are coming out just to...
Fucking exactly. This is the exact shit that I said. I'm so glad. This is the fucking sheriff saying the exact same thing. And it's not like I'm fucking smart for this. Bro, cavemen did this. This is obvious. Like, we known this for 3,000 years. Machiavelli wrote a book on this shit 1,000 fucking years ago. Not that long, but it's a while ago. It's common sense.
Destroy, they don't show up because they know there's going to be a consequence.
That's right.
But this is 20 years in the making of Governor Gavin Newsom's policies that have enabled criminals to do this in the first place.
That's right.
This is just natural for us.
To follow up on something you just said about how you would respond, admittedly, Los Angeles, much bigger than Riverside, the main city in your county. But if these riots had erupted in Riverside or in Palm Springs, Palm Desert, or someplace like that, what would you have done to stop them? And if ultimately it got out of control, would you have welcomed help from the Trump administration with open arms?
Absolutely. And the thing is in 2020, it did happen. The same thing that happened in Los Angeles spilled into Riverside.
That was the last time that they set the city on fire. It's crazy how often that happens. And it's crazy how, like, they think that, like, yeah, this is normal. Like, maybe it's people that live in LA and they just don't get it. But, like, most cities don't set themselves on fire every 5 years. Like usually that doesn't happen all the time. Like that's kind of like a weird thing.
Side, and we handled it completely different than them. We handled it with an overwhelming show of force where we ended what they were doing immediately.
You shut it down instantly.
It disappeared. And what happened was the rest of law enforcement said, oh, look what they did. It worked. And so Los Angeles followed suit, and they were able to stop theirs within 2 days after ours. So there's already a playbook. You do not allow them to escalate and then bring more reinforcements into the criminal behavior. It's nothing but criminals that are enabled to do criminal behavior, and if they're allowed, they will continue.
Well, who else would it be? I mean, if they're not policing, then how else would, like, if you aren't policing, like, if you are policing, it's not going to affect anybody except for the criminals, right? Because, like, they're not going to arrest somebody for just sitting there unless it's in the middle of the road. So, like, obviously, this would only affect criminals. Duh.
They will get bigger in numbers.
Fucking
if you stop it in the beginning, then it goes away.
See?
That's how things should be done.
Exactly.
Any cop on the street will tell you exactly how they can make it end. But somehow, as you rise up through the leadership ranks, they can't make those decisions at the top.
It's because they don't want to. They want the chaos. They want to do it. Like, that's the only way it can make sense.
Because politics get involved. The mayor gets involved. The governor gets involved.
Yeah, well, arrests last night ramped up because now there's a curfew in place. Why it took 5 days to implement that curfew is a question that I'm sure will be asked today. And also, Sheriff, there are a lot of people who are being impacted by these riots. We saw it in 2020, and now we're seeing it again. There is one jewelry store owner who's a migrant himself who said that his business was completely destroyed. Other stores are getting looted in this area. So talk to us a little bit about that and the human impact of what's going on.
It's huge. Downtown Los Angeles is an enormous magnet for business all day long. And I mean, you know what our freeways are. Our freeways are just.
How many people in this that just ran out of that store you think know how magnets work? Zero? Yeah, I think zero.
Really an absolute mess on a good day. So when you bring thousands of protesters in to block freeways, to stop freeways, that impacts everyone's day. Where businesses are closing, businesses have to close, people can't make it to work. It's a major impact for all of Los Angeles.
Yeah, I don't think people maybe in a different part of the country understand when you shut down the 101, you shut down basically the entire Southland. Because the 101, to your point, Sheriff, on a good day, the 101 is a disaster. This was a bad days or a series of bad days. And so thank you for making that point. Sheriff Chad Bianco, thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
I totally agree. And this is the problem, is they let this shit escalate and they let it get worse and worse and worse. And then whenever it got that bad, then they go and they blame it on somebody else. If they had shut this down immediately, it would have never happened.